AR automation is a complete 360 view of order to cash processes, whatever they may be. Our primary markets are wholesaler distributors and light manufacturers. We like to say we make getting paid easier, very frictionless, and at less cost than what people are used to experiencing.
How are you helping distributors get paid faster?
Sales and orders can happen in multiple different ways, at the counter, over the phone, the web, what have you. But in a lot of instances, you're relying on the person picking up or accepting delivery of the goods to take the paper, for that paper to wind up in their back office. What we do is we overlay a digital dynamic invoice. There's also secure payment links embedded in our digital dynamic invoice. The invoice is probably one of the more critical aspects of our client's environment.
How do I decide which payment processor to choose?
It's a great question. And you're right. Everybody wants to look at your statements. We kind of step back and say,
how can we learn from the leaders, educators, and experts in our industry? What can we take away from their successes and failures? How can we apply this to our businesses, our careers, and our lives? This is what we are here to find out. I'm your host, Karthik Chidambaram, CEO of DCKAP. We make systems, talk to each other for manufacturers and distributors. I love to learn and share the knowledge with others. This podcast is about having meaningful conversations that we can all learn from. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy this conversation. Today, we have a very special guest. We are going to talk about AR automation. We have John Perez, the Chief Executive Officer, CEO of Unified AR. John, thank you so much. Thanks for joining the Driven Show. Great to see you in DC.
Yeah, great to see you again, Karthik, as well. So welcome to DC.
All right, DC and DCKAP.
Yeah, DC and DCKAP, yeah.
All right. So John, before we get started, I just want to understand a little bit about AR automation. Let's say 101. How do you define AR automation?
So AR automation basically is a complete 360 view of order to cash processes, whatever they may be. Our primary markets are wholesaler distributors and light manufacturers. And look, I spent the first 29 years of my career in corporate banking. And one of the things I learned as soon as you get into a client's back office is there's a lot of paper. There's still a lot of paper. So basically, we provide a very easy way to start with for some of that paper to go away, or at least not that be the primary path for payment execution. We also make getting the payment very easy. So in a nutshell, once all of that happens through our systems, we can automatically apply the cash back into our client's back office, into their ERP. So we like to say we make getting paid easier, very frictionless, and at less cost than what people are used to experiencing. And the problem with all of the different payment paths as they exist today is that companies have a very hard time of understanding where their costs are really coming from. So on the way in, after we do a demonstration of our systems, we put our prospects through it, basically an AR survey, if you will, and actually show them where the costs are embedded in their environments.
So how are you helping distributors get paid faster? Can you walk me through that process?
Sure, absolutely. So if you start with what exists today, it's largely paper, like we've talked about. Sales and orders can happen in multiple different ways, at the counter, over the phone, the web, what have you. But in a lot of instances, you're relying on the person picking up or accepting delivery of the goods to take the paper, for that paper to wind up in their back office, so that a paper check or, an ACH, we like to call it grandpa's ACH, just a traditional ACH, comes across and eventually makes its way to the back office of the company that sold the goods in the first place. What we do is we overlay a digital dynamic invoice that basically, forget what happens with the paper, they get a digital dynamic copy of the invoice. If they need to print it out in the back office, that's fine. But there's also secure payment links embedded in our digital dynamic invoice. And when we are integrated, not only do they get an invoice, but if they want a complete history of all of their orders through time and everything else that's outstanding, the customer of our client has a clear, secure, and simple path to get to all of those things where they can then make an execution on a payment immediately or schedule that payment. And again, when that happens, we know what the payment details are. We automatically apply those funds back into the ERP.
I'm just trying to understand here. Let's say as a distributor, I will already have an accounting system in place.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I'm using Intuit, or maybe for simple terms, I'm using QuickBooks. QuickBooks does this, right? So I generate an invoice and it lets me pay online. So how do you compare with that?
So most of our clients, we have a very good experience set with Epicor and their environment P21. I would tell you that the situation is radically different and that the invoice details, the invoice is probably one of the more critical aspects of our clients' environment. We spend an inordinate amount of time working with our clients to have the invoice look exactly like they want, have everything laid out. It is literally their operating billboard. Not only is it their invoice, but it's very important to them. So the invoice is very, very specific. It's not something that you're going to find off the shelf. So when you start from that environment and kind of work your way forward, you also have the dynamic where some of our clients are multi-branded. There's a lot of things that go into that invoice that you're not likely to find just off of an off-the-shelf QuickBooks environment, has been our experience. On top of that, understanding where the cost really is embedded in those environments. Once we do a full diagnosis of where those costs are coming from, not only can we do credit card, debit card, e-check, which runs on the ACH rails, we also have a state-by-state execution on surcharge payment processing, which is very important in the credit card world, because basically, if our clients are affording terms to their customers, the last thing they want to have is 45, 60 days later, somebody to show up and pay them with a credit card, especially in a card not present environment, because those costs are sky high. So we have different levers that can be pulled that reduce those costs the whole way around.
So you help monitor the costs, monitor the charges.
Correct.
Hey, I'm paying more for this particular transaction. So how can I do better and how can I save cost?
Correct. And what a lot of people don't understand is that you can have the same customer, the same credit card presented in different manners, either in person or card not present, and your costs have just radically changed. And so a lot of times we're having conversations like that with our customers, with our prospects, to help them understand, here's why your costs are so different, and here's the costs that you should attack.
Since you work on the Profit 21 space, which we do a lot of work on as well, a lot of
oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So one challenge I run into, when we chat with customers is payment processing is hard, and it takes a long time to implement and all that, right? So why do you see that happening, and do you guys address that as well?
Yeah, so we address it in spades. One of the other things that we haven't talked about is that we have a team of experts from payments. We have a team of experts from SaaS, from our technology platform. And then our back office team basically just becomes an extension of our client's back office team. So 24/7, if somebody needs something, they know they can pick up the phone and they can call us and they're speaking with a real person. How we address it on the front end is we call it concierge level service. We do that from assessment on the way in, cost assessment on the way in, ROI once we've gone live. But as we are going live, we lead our clients step by step through all the processes that are needed, whatever that may be. If that's communication with their customers, if that's getting all the applications filled out and completed, we handle all of that. Basically, we think it's a dream state, and we have a litany of clients that will attest to that. That's how we address it. When I joined the company about a year after we were founded in 2017, I joined in 2018. My partner, Dan Hatcher, and I immediately started talking about not only does it have to be ease of use, it has to be secure. We've got to have our hands around the technology and make sure that it's secure. But we talked about the Amazonification of accepting payments, that the younger generation is used to that one-click execution and everything kind of happens from there. And we took that a step farther, we think, once integrated with all of the historical information behind that relationship that, frankly, in a lot of instances, has run for generations. These are companies that have been dealing with each other for 30, 40 years, some cases longer. So if we can give them all of the data that they already have, make it readily available, even the purchasing gets a lot easier for the customers of our clients.
So when I was chatting with Dan, he was mentioning that it's not just built by technologists, but by distributors. You get the distributors involved in building the platform.
Correct.
I'm just curious to know, how do you do that, right? I mean, do you have customer champions, or what is the process in terms of building the product roadmap?
Well, we have the relationship with the NAW, as you well know. And so when we got started, a great set of direct members of the NAW welcomed us in with open arms. And they said, if you can solve these problems, that would be very important for us. And, frankly, it took me right back to my commercial banking days because there was the same problems that I've been hearing. And frankly, in 2018, I was a little surprised to see that the paper volumes were actually the same. So, from that standpoint, it was the same set of issues. But we started with the feedback from the direct members of the NAW. And again, the Amazonification of payments and cash application and everything that they told us, we just kind of went forward. One of the other things that came out of those conversations was that our tech stack had to represent the opposite of an IT project. And so our CTO, Jason Palmer, is fantastic. We really kind of put all of the, those were the primary ideas for building the tech stack. And our tech stack can be implemented into our new clients' environments in well under an hour with little lift from our new client side. So those are things, hopefully are always tenets of everything that we do on a go-forward basis.
So if I understand this correctly, what AR automation, accounts receivable automation, order to cash, you help distributors get paid faster, but then you have a history of the previous invoices, history of what happened where, pretty much like an Expedia where I have the travel history.
Correct.
So this is great. But then let's say a distributor is not doing all this, right? So it's not automated. How do I get paid faster? Outside of technology, do you have any tricks?
Well, so the funny thing is, I don't know about tricks, but I can't tell you, every company that we have signed has had a team member that has said, oh no, our customers are not going to pay us this way. They like their paper, they like their paper checks. We've heard every excuse that says, no, I still want to live back in the 1980s. That's the way we've always done it. And they're shocked when we go live and we're getting payments, sometimes like the same hour that they are going live. This happens to be the day after the championship games for football. We were getting payments while the games are going on. We get payments on Thanksgiving. So it is a 24/7 cash receiving desk, if you will. And again, we're applying those payments automatically. So I think people are really shocked at the experience set of how easy our tech stack is adopted by their customers. And then one of the other things that we do for everyone as we are going live is we measure the ROI of every environment that goes live. And our goal is to have them cash positive on an ROI basis, 45 to 60 days.
So even if I have your solution, I would still need a payments processor.
We take care of that.
Oh, you take care of that?
Yeah, we take care of that. Yes, correct. You can keep your payment processor, but most people, when they understand where those costs are coming from, they're happy to switch it. They're happy to switch everything. Yeah.
Okay. Since you worked for 23 years, and I think you worked at 23 years, you spent at Fifth Third Bank, spent a career in payments and banking. I have this question. How do I choose my payment processor? Because let's say, I'll just give you a business example, which happens right now. We are processing with a payment processor. Then I have somebody from Chase who reach out to us. Hey, I would like to look at your statements. I think we can do a better job. I'm sure you have heard this many times.
Yeah.
So how do I decide which payment processor to choose?
It's a great question. And you're right. Everybody wants to look at your statements. Maybe if they don't want to look at your statements, that probably begs a question. And if it's a one price fits all model, that probably begs another set of questions. We kind of step back and say, how do you want to be served? And if you start from there, if I have a problem, who am I calling? Because there are a lot of banks, there are a lot of financial institutions. There's a lot of just pure payment plays. that as soon as you have a problem, they like to tell you, oh no, it's actually your problem. It's not our problem. We did everything correctly. And at Unified AR, we don't care. If you have a problem and you're with us, we're going to hop on the phone with you and we're going to work through it the whole way through. So a lot of it is, what is the cost? Why am I just finding this out now? And who do I talk to in a service issue? If that's 1-800, take a number, I think there's a lot to be said for direct line service.
Yeah, there's a problem and you guys step in and solve it.
Correct.
And
Correct.
That depends on which payment processor we choose. Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
So the theme of this podcast is driven. How are you driven, John?
So I was taught corporate banking almost in a backwards solution, or at least it was backwards from when I got into the banking. If you solve your clients and your prospects' problem, you're likely to have a client for life. That's how I was taught banking. Fifth Third took the next step, which was we don't expect our clients to come see us. We expect to go see our clients and our prospects at their place of business. That's where the rubber meets the road. And that's where you find out where the real issues are. And so, again, as we were starting off and we were sourcing what the real problems were, we were in people's back offices, visiting with them. It's the same thing. So I'm driven, our team is driven by solving problems for our customers. And we hear that, when there is an issue, frankly, people are like, thank you so much. We know that you're on it. Just let us know when it's fixed. And that's, we're telling them when there's a problem as opposed to their having to inbound every time. So it's been refreshing.
And what are some things you do outside of work?
Some things that I do outside of work. Yeah, we constantly worry about our 3 adult children. Do a fair amount of reading when I can, and like you, we do some white papers and some other customer-facing things in our spare time, as you say. But yeah, it's when you're part of a small team, as you well know, there's always something that's going on around the clock, and so yeah, we love to travel when my wife and I get the time. So yeah, it's great.
I would like to end with this question. What book are you reading right now? Or is there anything you're reading and learning which you would like to share our audience?
Yeah, so I just started When the Clock Stopped, which is a very interesting book. It kind of melds media and news, and it gets back into financial issues as well. So for me, it's kind of everything that I'm living, but it really kind of starts from like the early 80s and mid 80s kind of pull forward. It's fascinating. I'm just into it. But if not for that, I'd be headlong into sports books and books about music. So at any rate, but that's the latest and greatest.
Yeah, you're from Nashville.
Yeah.
All right, John, thank you so much.
Thank you, Karthik.
This conversation.
Yeah, it's great to see you again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for joining our Driven by DCKAP podcast. Your support means a lot to us. If you enjoyed this episode, please click the like button and subscribe. Consider leaving us a review. Thank you for joining us.